All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to dive into, call this a bit of a tour topic.
Yeah, for sure.
How players use spin. Some use it for their advantage to gain some spin. Some like to take it away. You and I were chatting on the phone the other day. We both watched what I think was one of the coolest YouTube videos I've ever seen, which was the Bryson match against Phil.
Phil, yeah.
And they get into talking a little bit about golf ball, and Bryson was talking about his equipment. And when you start to hear these guys open up about the way they utilize their equipment and their tool, and we've called, you know, we've said this is the 15th club for the longest time. And it might be the most important. Maybe it's number one in the importance list. But these guys really value every single lever that they can pull. Right.
I mean, it's you know, being on tour. Spin is the governing body of a tour truck. Mm-hmm. It manages everything's based off of that one foundation. So I can't think of any player on tour, or at least on any staff, that's in a spin deficiency.
Right.
Everybody wants to have more than enough because they all know how to take spin off. It's when you don't have enough and you're fighting for your life out there.
Yeah.
It's like having not enough oxygen in the room, essentially.
I mean, we've been through the era of the 17 launch, 1700 spin, and kind of trying to manipulate golf clubs and golf balls to do that. I think we've went the other way. We've kind of came back a little bit to basically say that spin is control.
Right.
Right. When you have spin, you have control.
Well, you're seeing that too with, you know, not just Callaway drivers, but Titleist TSR series, definitely, you know, leaning more on the spin side over speed. Ping's product always been very stable, always had plenty of spin. Even Srixon's driver, although it's fast, also has some spin built into it. So, you know, I'm not under any illusion that Callaway makes, you know, the only one that's that forgetting and that spins. Obviously, I think ours is the best, but ultimately, everybody, all the R&D programs are going that way. We all figured out how to make a really fast driver. But without spin, that speed does you nothing. We can explain what that looks like in the air, obviously, as we go. But
well, let's do that. We're going to dive into a few different clubs here, but we have 3 golf balls that we're going to pick, and you know, we're not even going to give them their name. It's just A, B, and C, because we've chosen 3 golf balls with different design characteristics. I don't think you have hit at least 2 of these before, but you certainly haven't hit one. So I think this will be even good for you to see, because when you live within the constraints of one brand, you get to see what they have, and you know, we have to say on the Callaway truck, I mean, it's been noted for years the amount of golf balls the tour players have access to. I mean, there's a few, there's some fun toys on there, that the guys get. So you probably could do this one branded, but we're not going to. We're going to mix up the brands here, and we're just going to hit ball A, B, and C, and talk to the differences. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say us and Titleist have probably the most amount of nuggets to choose from, but
I would definitely agree. All right, let's get some dots on your 7.
So one of the things to consider also is, like, you know, I'd say the top 3 things that spin gives you is, one, it's definitely going to mitigate a miss, especially for better players level. It will soften the edges on some of your curves. If you have a modern golf ball that spins a little bit, obviously when you take speed off, that's a big plus if the ball's still spinning. And obviously short game and stuff like that, and we can go into the rabbit hole with that. But, you know, I feel like all golf balls in the modern day fly really fast at high speeds. They all kind of spin where they're supposed to at high speeds, but it's when you get into that, you know, we'll call it sub 150 ball speed category, is when the balls start to separate themselves from maybe having too much spin, not enough, blah, blah, blah. So something to look out for.
Okay. So up ball A, 165 around your number.
Okay. Feels soft, eh? This one?
Yes. Nice.
That was a little wipey, but.
Solid.
Yep.
Very solid.
Try not to look. Think about my dispersion's pretty good.
Yep. Yep.
That was off the heel too, so.
Nothing wrong with this dispersion pattern. Okay.
Okay.
Golf ball C. You just see a different sort of angled descent coming from that one.
That's 1,300 RPMs more spin.
Yeah, it's wild.
Wow.
I mean, the stopping power with that is
Yeah, I mean, this ball's stopping wherever it lands.
yep, it's just landing like a beanbag. Some good strikes here. I've played enough golf with you to know that you're not going to give me 3 better ones than that. They were flush. All right, J-Dub, so 3 different golf balls, 3 sort of different spin windows. Interestingly, not massively different in launch angle with ball A and B, even though they spin quite differently. Compression, you know, or you call it compression, ball speed being very similar. Ball C being much, much quicker and much, much higher spin.
Yeah.
So it is the hardest core of all 3.
Okay.
Generally, those come out with the fastest ball speeds, and it is the softest cover. So, I mean, wild to see, you know, 1900 or 1850 of this difference in spin.
That's wild.
Same golf club, and that's why we, you know, kind of roll our eyes a little bit, as you know, when it comes to which shaft goes higher, which one goes lower, you know, that sort of stuff. It's like, well, so negligible,
ball, man,
relative to what we can do with this.
Yeah, the golf ball is the governing body of the whole bag, I say. I mean, if you look at it also, if you go to carry over there on the right,
yep,
all that spin,
yep,
right, 2 yards less of total carry.
Yeah.
Which people go, well, I'm gonna, you know, well, yeah, we're inside, we're indoors, it's a controlled environment, but like out on the course, it ain't gonna look that much different.
No, and it's not, and the other thing is as well, like you said, elements are going to play into part of which one do you want. Like, if you're playing on the west coast of Scotland at Prestwick and Troon and down at Turnberry, you might want a little bit more of this than you certainly will of that, that's for sure. But, you know, if you're playing in, you know, the desert or something and you want to see the ball kind of stop and you might want a bit more of that, you can take your pick. But like we said, for sure, there is less control when you start getting into this territory.
Right.
Because what it opens you up to is, in the not perfect situation, is the flyer.
Right.
We know that it's so hard to regulate distance when we bring in those flyer conditions. Good ball speed with low spin or variable spin. Very, very difficult.
The other thing that you have on your side too, when you're talking about irons, that's why the dispersion doesn't change all that much, is you have loft. You have something that's spin based, helping you kind of control the shot that gets really funky. We'll hit some drivers in a little bit, but it gets really off kilter when those numbers are wrong with the driver. The faster it gets, the more off kilter it can get. And that's when you'll see all that on basically on steroids. So.
And look at your delivery, how consistent that is. 30.3, 29.9, and 30. People don't think they're consistent. We are consistent. We do things consistently well, and we do things consistently not so well. But in terms of the delivery, like, you're pretty much giving me the same action.
Yeah.
Right? So there's nothing really that different going on here. We're just dealing with 3 golf balls that are built to do very different things.
Yeah.
You know, which is important.
And on tour, like we're doing this for an experiment, so I'm trying to make the same swing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So on tour, that's what they want. They want to make the same swing and then see the same numbers every single time.
Try and minimize the variables that you're dealing with. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, let's hit some drivers.
Lock and load.
Lock and load. Good.
Yeah, better.
Really nice. I mean, your launch conditions are pretty much perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, you can travel with 13.5 and 2300 at anywhere and play good golf.
That was a little squeezy. The funny thing is I'm kind of hitting most of these pretty close to the center.
Yep, pretty good. Okay, one more.
All right. Just blocky fades.
Okay.
Yeah, see, that's a lot. I mean, 13 at 2800 for me, that's a lot of spin for me.
But, you know, like I always say in Fitz, you know, it's a lot of spin, but is it the right amount of spin for the shot, which is a marginal heel, open face shot? Yeah, that's the right amount of spin for that shot.
For that shot, that strike,
exactly,
yeah.
Right, so I would say 27 in those circumstances is pretty much perfect.
Right.
If that was 21, we'd be in real trouble.
I'm gonna hit that a little bit better. Look at that thing.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more your draw shape. That was that toe or
that was a little bit center toe. See, but that's the cool thing also. Like, say for example, like in this case, like I'm not at my best. It doesn't matter. Like if I was on the golf course, I have what I have. If I don't have enough spin in these shots, I'm taking how I feel and making it that much worse by not having. At least I have oxygen in the tank somewhere.
100%.
Like that's the thing for the people at home to consider is, you know, when you don't have all your speed and you're not like your best self, at least you have something there to keep you okay. And in this case, that's spin.
Yeah, and that's one of the perfect ones there to look at the spin rate on, because if you get it turning like that when you're used to hitting a bit right, that would be absolutely perfect.
Right.
Like you cross the left side of the line. That, in a nutshell, is why players want spin for control.
100%.
I mean, if that goes to 1700, 1600, and obviously your carry number plummets, that's a disaster.
Well, it's also like, look how much, like this is where thank God you have enough spin, because look at, like I'm hitting up on it 5.5.
Yeah.
With a 10-degree driver, right? So, you know, optimally in a situation like this, you want, you know, it'd be awesome if I was hitting them all out of the middle and we could really do a test, but I feel like this is closer to real life golf anyway.
Yeah, what
like,
people struggle with.
Yeah, this is where, you know, for me, if I'm looking at my own game, this is where I want to know what's helping me.
Yep.
Like what to fight and what not to fight.
Could agree more. I mean, the reason you're kind of struggling a little with your driver right now is you've got a little too much exposure in launch.
Right.
And you're trying to get away from hitting as much up. You're trying to kind of, you know, stay on top of it a little bit more and feel like you're kind of going to flatten out the ball flight. But right now, this, you know, I think from a CG perspective works. I think when you get it straightened out like that last one, these lower ball flights come in when you get the face square. The higher ones are just really when the face is open.
Yeah, and this is what it looks like when you have a player, like if you're in a fit or even on the golf course, like this is a player when you're fighting your setup, your driver setup. Like if anyone who wants to know what it looks like when things aren't quite gelling with how you're swinging it, that's kind of how it looks like for me. I kind of hit them right, have a hard time hitting the face. But again, for the purposes of this video, if this is a low launch, low spin setup or the ball's not sound, like I gotta, you know, I'm lying 3 off a lot of tees that day. So
jump into C for me, and then I want to kind of build you something. I want to build you something that takes your spin actually down a little bit.
Okay.
Because I feel like the golf ball A and B have been really quite good for you.
Yeah.
And C will most likely it'll be okay with the driver, but you might miss one, it'll go quite short, but.
I'd love to get lucky and hit one like right, you know, square one up and catch one right out of the, like that was better. That was the closest one I've hit to like.
You just do well with this golf ball C.
But see how soft the edges are to that shot.
Yeah.
Like ball speed wasn't great, none of it, like 2300.
I mean, you're really happy with that flight, though. I mean, it's
yeah. If I hit that on the golf course,
really, really good.
If I hit that on the golf course, I'm happy, man. Like this would be interesting to see how much this spins.
Was that fraction low in the head?
A little bit.
So maybe, you know, the kind of draw is going to be masked with a little bit of a thin one. I think Cali will be pretty pleased with how their driver performs on these ones.
Yeah, I mean, this is like...
We're looking a lot at the ball here, but I'm also thinking to myself, this driver's really, really good on different parts of the head.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hitting it. This is as bad as I got, and I haven't hit a lot of terrible ones. I mean, I hit some floaters off to the right, but a lot of that's the combination of you know, proper spin in the golf ball, and the driver's really sound.
Okay, give me that flusher.
That was good, Frazier.
I like that one.
Yeah, that was closer.
Good looking flight.
Yeah, it's not going to go very far, but like for this.
Yeah, just put a couple of notches below the center line. Yep. Okay, so yeah, as we saw, and I think we said we thought we might see, this one did spin the most for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar, actually, very different golf balls with irons. Very similar golf balls with a driver.
And that goes back to my point of the under. Once you get below a certain ball speed threshold is when the balls start to go, they start to separate themselves.
Totally. Okay, one of the things I want to do with the driver, I want to set you up. Let me see this guy 1 second. Do you feel that Denali's a little softer than?
Yeah, I think like something a little, yeah, something with a little bit more play. I mean, I think even if you put Denali in that same setup that I had before, like, you know, you would even see the face even square up more.
I've given you back the golf ball that I've liked the most for you, which was definitely golf ball B. But I can almost want to kind of break it for you.
Okay. Well, I think you're going to see a stark difference in, because we're going from mildly handle stiff, very, very tip stiff in an open face driver to something that's, you know, still a stiff part, but a lot more feel in a head that's a little bit probably square to the eye. Yeah.
Okay, let's hit a few with this one.
Okay.
Okay, interesting one. Give me another couple just like that.
I mean, you've seen me hit enough balls. I'm going from, you know, right at start line drawing back to right at the start line going the other way.
And this is what we wanted to try and show, right? Because we said earlier on that we would have, does the spin rate represent the shot? Do we ever want a shot that goes 32 yards right, which actually isn't that far off line?
No, but...
do we ever want that 2100 spin? No. Right? Because that means if we hit that strike dead straight, we're not.
Well, it's out of the ball's out of your hand. I mean, if it starts going that way with 2100 a spin, that's just, that's a rabid dog off the leash. And that one I hit good.
There's your knuckler.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, people will be super impressed with how far the knuckler goes. But that's where no player wants to be.
No.
Like
just
with it's not getting enough spin. The thing just wants to sail out into right field.
No, it's got 2,000 RPMs of spin on it.
Yeah.
But that's what a lot of people, and because of what OEMs and we've all sort of done in the pursuit of distance, people see 2,000 spin. That's like that 270, what was the carry number on that one? 275?
275.
That's like a fake number, essentially. It's not.
I just need to square it up. I just need to square that up. Yeah. Well, okay. So give me a couple of squared up ones.
That was close, actually. Like, that was close. I hit that pretty good.
You hit it good, yeah.
2,000 RPMs a spin.
And slightly in the toe strike.
7 up.
So, I mean, this is you purely fighting a golf club that just does not want to rotate. And that's another problem with golf clubs that have the CG in the front.
Right.
Is they don't want to rotate.
I don't feel like it's the shaft. Like, to me, the shaft, I can feel the shaft kick.
Shaft's doing okay.
Yeah, I feel like the shaft's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Yep.
A lot easier than the TR was. It's going to go in the right trees.
I think that's about as good as a high draw as we're going to see today.
With this setup?
With this thing?
Yeah.
Even when it's cutting, that thing doesn't want to spin over 2.
No, and the thing is, like, you know, what's an interesting thing to consider too, it's not really in the topic of conversation, but angle attack at 6.5 up.
Yeah.
Some people are constantly trying to hit up. There is a point of diminishing returns. Like, for me, when I get over 4 degrees up,
yeah,
I lose speed. I lose a ton of speed because I am exerting all that speed trying to get the club up.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, the position your body gets into is not, you're not continuing to pivot. You know, you've actually stalled your pivot and it's kind of working more like that.
Right.
Rather than kind of having the handle leading. Bryson said it really well. Again, in that video, you know, we were talking about earlier on, you don't want to put speed into the club. You want to put pressure into the club, right? And when we can put speed into the club, but we want to put pressure into the club. That's what drives speed and control and maintains dynamic loft and all those key things. So when we're talking about these golf balls and obviously the way a tour player wants to build their golf ball for functionality, they need to know that they can hit it right to left, left to right, up and down, and have full control. Right, at all times. The other one thing that, you know, I'm not sure if you've kind of chatted with the tour boys and your staff is, tour players find it very easy to sort of, you know, flight it down. Yeah. Right? I think that's the average golfer has a hard time flighting it down. Yeah, they can all control dynamic loft. Great. Incredibly well.
You know, you cannot be a good ball striker without controlling the face, right? So they all have a very keen understanding of how the face works. Mm-hmm. If anything, if there was like an extra little nugget that a ball might provide for some players, like say Chris Kirk or somebody that is kind of a low launcher, if they can get it up a little higher, great. Sometimes they'll do that with a construction of the iron. They'll go from an MB to a CB or CB to a pro, something that's going to kick it up maybe 1.5 degrees or 2 a launch. So like with a 7 iron, maybe 105 peak height without trying, like they're happy. But those are nice to haves, not have to haves. Yeah. The thing that they have to have for the most part, you know, there's a chart. If you are 10 launch, ideal spin is 2,400. If you're 12 launch, ideal spin's 2,350. I mean, they're not big jumps. No. It's like, you know, if you're 14 launch, then 2,250 is ideal. But, you know, you get somebody like Rahm, if I handed him a driver and a ball setup and he hits his normal cut, if it's 11 launch at 2,400 spin and starting left and floating right, he could do it in 2 shots. If he sees it and he knows it's there, where his gift comes in is he can do that every single time. Right. He can attach himself to that shot because that's what feels like, that's me doing what feels, I'm trying to hit that shot and I see that shot. Right. I think that's the biggest thing. Tour players hate surprises. Mm-hmm. They hate when they feel like they've done something and the result is entirely different. Right. Well, like for example, I'm a good enough player to know that if I set up to the ball like this and I try to hit the inside of the ball 8.5 times out of 10, it's going to start right and hook. It starts to turn over. Right. I've been doing it for 25 years. So if I'm trying, even with me popping out of it and doing everything that I do, I know my hands are good enough. I can at least get it to do that. Right. The strike is the strike. So some may go further than others. But if the ball's wrong, doesn't have enough spin, and the driver setup's wrong, I will fight it like I did today. Yep. Trying to make it work, right? And you actually saw my path change from out to in to out, trying to get it to start that way. Yep. But those are all responses that we have to ill fit or ill plan, in my case, because I'm kind of fitting myself, equipment. Yeah. ball and club. So, you know, that's why, you know, in the case of, you know, coming in here to see you guys or working with a fitter that kind of knows what he's doing, that's you guys are usually ball first. You know and I've talked about that a lot.
Yeah,
it's a big piece of it anyway.
It's a huge piece of it, and I think when we start the full bag fit and it starts with the irons, it's a big part of it is the ball, and obviously making sure the irons and the golf ball jive, and then obviously after that the driver's less about the ball, as we saw there with your test. You know, we have a 1500 RPM delta between the high spin ball and the low spin ball of the iron. 200 with the driver, right? It's much less of a factor. We just need to make sure when it comes to the driver itself, the setup versus this driver versus the other one, you know, that one was money for you. Low spin was 2200, a high was 2700.
Right.
Like that window is so perfect.
Yeah, and fixing start line on that driver is easy. You make the face go that way and figure the weights around a little bit, and then you're in business. So.
Well, guys, I mean, we're really into the nuances, and a lot of this is very, very kind of obviously high-level technical stuff in the sense of how we're trying to manage players' games, and we're just trying to help you guys understand some of the pitfalls that you can fall into, I think, when it comes to club fitting, golf ball choices, etc. Try and avoid the home run ball. The home run ball generally doesn't lead to well-rounded success. No. You know, try and go for something that is going to be, you know, I'd rather you hit 7 out of 10 good than 1 or 2, you know, the best that you've ever seen. I'd far rather you hit that ratio.
And that goes back to a lot of the things, if you guys ever watch any of the videos that I do for Callaway, I always talk about raising the floor.
Yeah.
Your ceiling is your ceiling. Like center punch, perfectly caught, they're all great. It's raising your ceiling. It's making how I feel today be able to go to the golf course and be able to play. And spin and self-management, all those things come into play on your bad days. That's when it really helps.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. All right, guys. I mean, hopefully you guys are seeing sort of some of the differences that we obviously work on in the bay. Johnny sees with the tour players out in the field. Different clubs, different golf balls. Some of the reasons why we talk about spin a lot. I still think it's a bit of a misunderstood thing, and probably at some point we'll kind of get back into that and extract, you know, why when you went to 7300 spin with that 7-iron versus 58, did it actually go lower, right? Because that's another misconception. Spin makes the ball go up. No, friction makes the spin go up, but friction pulls launch down. That's another story for another day. Stay tuned for more. We'll see you again soon.